Any question, of course, you can always ask in between, no problem. Ja, tut's. Ah, du hast eine Frage.
Wie sieht das aus mit der Übersetzung? Wir haben ja die Wiener, die können es Russisch übersetzen.
Also, Mandy, ich frage mal kurz, vielleicht, Irina, magst du einmal nur kurz auf Russisch übersetzen wollen? Ansonsten gibt es nur eine englische Übersetzung. Nee, auf Russisch. Ich frage mal auf Russisch, wenn eine russische Übersetzung kommt.
Von welcher Sprache?
Von Deutsch auf Russisch. Okay, so there will be only then English translations needed, right? Who needs an English translation? Maybe raise the arm that we know. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's also your the first 6. Okay. The best is if you, as a man, can sit also a little bit then closer, so that Irina Mataji, you will translate into English. Tulasi, du darfst aber dann nicht so schnell reden. Ne?
Jawohl, machen wir. Wurde letztes Mal schon mal viel gelesen.
Gut.
So, ich spreche in Englisch, wenn Sie...
Nee, auf Deutsch. Auf Deutsch und die Irina übersetzt. Ist es okay für dich?
Wie lange geht die Klasse? Bis um 3?
Für alle, die Deutsch sprechen und Deutsch verstehen, können ruhig etwas nach vorne kommen, weil sonst hört ihr den Schneebino, die nachher den Vortrag in Deutsch und in Englisch. Genau, Englisch bleibt hinten und alle, die Deutsch verstehen, können ruhig weiter nach vorne rücken, weil sonst hört ihr von der vorne auf Deutsch und dann nur noch Englisch. Everyone who needs an English translation, please go closer to the woman's side. Nee, du übersetzt einfach aufs Englische. Ins Englische. Ne? Okay, ich kann ja auch nochmal fragen, wer versteht denn kein Englisch? Ah, die versteht weder Englisch noch Deutsch. Aber Deutsch, aber kein Englisch. Ja, okay. Also es gibt natürlich die Möglichkeit, dass wir auf Englisch den Vortrag geben und dann nur halt auf Deutsch übersetzen, das geht auch. Aber dazu müssen wir wissen, ob alle anderen, die Deutsch sprechen, auch gut Englisch können. Keiner sagt nein? Das ist natürlich auch die eine Person, das ist klar. Weil es ist wahrscheinlich weniger Aufwand, ins Deutschland zu übersetzen, wenn es nur eine Person ist.
Aber der Vortrag wird doch auf Deutsch gehalten.
Tulasi, Priya kann das auf beide Sprachen geben, auf Englisch, auf Deutsch.
Ja, wir können es ja auch auf Deutsch machen, in der Info und dann genau besser auf Deutsch.
Besser auf Deutsch, okay. Ihr sagt.
Man hat es ja eh ein bisschen drin, oder?
Das Problem ist mit der Übersetzung, wenn man weiter weg sitzt, dann kann man das nicht so gut hören. Außer ihr seid echt begierig zu hören, dann geht das schon. Oder man hat solche Knöpfe im Ohr oder so, dann geht das. Aber ansonsten ist es leichter, wenn man nur für eine Person übersetzt, weil dann kann man fast vorsprechen.
Ja, genau.
Das wäre schon praktisch. Dann ist das egal.
Ja, genau.
Kann man das in Schule einfach machen?
Ihr entscheidet. Wenn ihr auf Englisch wollt, ist kein Problem. Wenn ihr also die englische Übersetzung haben wollt, ist kein Problem. Tulasi, Priya, lass uns auf Englisch übersetzen. Also auch, du redest auf Deutsch, ja?
No, I can speak in English, and Irina will translate for this one person who is not speaking English.
Ist es okay für euch? Dass wir nur für eine Person, das ist dann nur eine Person, die wir dann ins Deutsche übersetzen. Das ist einfach. Wer ist diese Person, die kein Deutsch spricht? Einmal Arm hoch. Kein Englisch, meine ich, sorry. Jetzt bin ich schon wieder verwirrt hier. Es ist es ist einfacher eine 1:1 Übersetzung als wirklich, wenn man zu 6 in einer Gruppe. Sie spricht hier, ne? Die in Blau oder? Also, wir sprechen in Englisch und wir brauchen eine deutsche Übersetzung.
Ins Deutsche übersetzen.
Also 3. Sehr gut. Dann geht bitte noch da hinten zu der Irina Mataji. Die setzt sich da hinten hin und alle anderen können gerne noch nach vorne rücken, damit das nicht stört.
Irina, setz du ruhig dahin, ist okay. Okay, jetzt haben wir es. Alle zufrieden? Schau mal, du gehst nach hinten und die Irina, die übersetzt ins Deutsche. Irina ist die mit dem gelben Oberteil.
Mit dem Buch. Möchtest du
Ja,
auch?
die ist die einzige.
Guck mal, dieser kleine Junge, der hat vorhin auch den Buch hier vorne. Vielleicht möchte der auch noch mithören. herstellen. Okay, ja. Also, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming and for so enthusiastically chanting the Lord's holy name. That was so inspiring for me. That's the essence of all of our activities, actually. And so how many were new? Can you please again raise your hand? Who's here the first time? Wer ist hier zum ersten Mal? Richtig hoch ruhig. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 ist richtig, ne? Ihr kriegt nachher alle ein Geschenk. Ne? Da gibt es einen netten Devotee, der verteilt so kleine Bücher. Das ist ein Kennenlerngeschenk sozusagen. Also erstmal herzlich willkommen. Swagatam, Suswagatam. Wir werden jetzt aus der Bhagavad Gita lesen. And we will read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who is sitting over here on the Vyasasan. And he is a member of the disciplic succession which comes down from Lord Brahma. So there's 4 authorized Vedic lines of like disciplic successions which transfer the real Vedic knowledge in the Vaishnava lineage. And so, therefore this Bhagavad Gita is called as it is, not as it is speculated or as I think or as maybe you mean or something like that, and misused to represent one's own ideas. But this Bhagavad Gita is called as it is because, Dankeschön, Prabhu, vielen Dank, because it comes down from the previous acharyas, and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada is all the time quoting his acharyas, his teachers, so to say. So this is something which I think is important to know. Kesha war hier vorne, der Prabhu mit dem blauen Hemd auch. So before we start chanting from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, first of all I will chant one Sanskrit mantra and then translate it. Narayanam namaskritya naram shavanaruttamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayit. Before reciting from these holy scriptures, one should offer one's respectful obeisances to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So we are, first of all, before we start doing something, we ask for the blessings of our superiors, which is an item which is unfortunately lost in our modern culture here, at least in Germany, to a big part. But this is actually really important. The Indian congregation didn't know how important it is to get the blessings, so this is what we're doing. So may this endeavor be fruitful and bring about loving devotion in all of us and inspire us deeply on this eternal path of transcendental and absolute knowledge. Okay, so we will chant this verse. I will chant it because of the shortage of time, the Sanskrit, and we can chant the Sanskrit maybe a few times reciprocatively, but we will not use the word-by-word translation, and I will just go to the verse translation and then to the purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Can you all see that projection? Yeah. Yada yada hi dhammasya. Glania bhavati bharata. Abhyuttamam dhammasya. Tatatmanam sujamyaham. Yada yada hi dhammasya. Glania bhavati bharata. Abhyuttanam dhammasya. Tadatmanam sujamyam. Yada yada hi dhammasya. Glani bhavati bharata. Abhyutanam madhamasya. Tadatmanam swijamyam. Prabhus? Yada yada idhamasya. Glani bhavati bharata. Abhyutanam madhamasya. Tadatmanam swijamyam. Yada yada hi dharmasya. Glani bhavati bharata. Abhyutanam madhamasya. Tadatmanam swijamyam. Matajis? Who would volunteer? Yada yada hi dharmasya. Glani bhavati bharata. Abhyutanam madhamasya. Tadatmanam swijamyam. Yada yada hi dharmasya. Glani bhavati bharata. Abhyutanam madhamasya. Tadatmanam swijamyam. Thank you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Purport. The word Srijami is significant herein. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation, because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests Himself as He is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, He has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations, because He is completely free to act in many ways at His will. He therefore appears by His own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and the disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord Himself to Brahma from within His heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhammam tu Saksham Bhagavad Pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord directly orders, at the end of the Gita, that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto Him only and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto Him, and whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas,
people of demoniac tendencies still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant, or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in the right circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 statuses of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. Ich habe noch mal eine Frage, 2 Fragen. Könntest du mir mal diesen Namen von Matha noch erst versuchen? Vielleicht auf dem Telefon oder so, das ist natürlich schwierig. Und hast du nicht dann sag ich einfach weiß ich dir, kannst du das hier noch mal höher machen? Das ist so anstrengend, jetzt nach vorne zu gehen. Nicht lauter, sondern höher. Manuell hier mit diesen, weil das ist jetzt ein bisschen blöd ranzukommen hier mit dem. Weil das muss ein bisschen nach vorne beugen. Vielen Dank, Gabi. Sehr nett. Dann kann ich das ungefähr auf der Höhe so. Genau. Prima. Vielen herzlichen Dank. So, dann macht das Sprechen alles ein bisschen einfacher. Okay, so. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam tamasangstapya nataya sambhavami yuge yuge. This is the next verse. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So we just heard in the 7th verse how Lord Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, says that he is continuously descending, he's continuously keeping fresh the link to him. And now in the text number 8, he's giving reasons for that. Why does he do that? He says, first of all, to deliver the pious and also to protect his devotees, then to re-establish the principles of religion, which are eternal, as we just heard, just different according to different circumstances. Thank you. And also to annihilate the miscreants, to kill the demons, basically. Ne? So we have these 3 reasons for why the Lord appears. So now, why did I choose this verse and speak about this today? This is, I think, a very important time in the world, globally, and maybe also in the universe, where the consciousness gets a push, basically, from the Lord to be elevated. And well, I myself started to engage with energy medicine and healing people. And also 2 years ago and 3 years ago, I had some personal crises where I had burnout, depressions, and all these things. I learned from that a lot. one of these things was that I got blessed with this new healing facilities, and also I learned much about the capacity of our mind, about the function of the consciousness and everything. And I have recently been in touch with different people who also experience that so many things are going on internally. It's not only a challenge for the time globally, externally with the war and corona and whatever is going on, but maybe some of us, we can perceive that more strongly, that things which we would rather not look at, keep somewhere pushed away, or keep up our masks or something, and even as a betrayal to our own self, because we want to believe that we are good and everything. Actually, the soul is good, but still we can wear something like masks. And the thing is, the problem is, if we aspire to be happy, right? But if we do not know the way how to actually pursue this happiness, how to get there, then we will incur, for example, sins just because of our ignorance, that we don't know the way. And we will have some side effects. Maybe we hurt other people, then we incur some karmic reactions. And yeah, in this way we can experience so many varieties of suffering, which ultimately may manifest within our body, not just in a social mirror, but even in our bodily mirror in form of diseases, whether physical diseases or emotional, mental diseases. Can someone relate to that, what I'm saying? Did you experience that in your life? Okay. Don't be shy. Thank you so much. And so in order to understand how to become happy, I got very inspired to choose this verse. Who wants to be happy? And can you tell me who already became completely happy without any desires? Okay, another question. Really? You're still young? Okay. In school, no challenges? So then another question would be, who did not experience suffering? Someone is here, some great pious person, some rishi maybe, who did not experience suffering. So why, as eternal souls, the Vedas, they explain to us that we are a particle of God, a tiny, very small particle, like a fragment, but our essence is godly. So why, if we are godly in our essence, do we forget, and why do we have to suffer in spite of our best ambitions and inclinations? And I think most of us, we would say that we try to be good human people, right? We try to be pious and uplift other people, maybe give some donations. So why do we still have to suffer? Okay, I like to have a little bit interactive sessions. Some proposals? Maybe someone has an idea? Keshav?
Maybe some selfish desires.
Selfish desires, that's interesting. Okay. Upamano, Prabhu?
I wanted to say.
Ah, you wanted to say the same. Okay, Prabhu?
Having too high expectations.
Oh, that's interesting. That's actually a big factor of our misery. To have too high expectations. Okay, other suggestions? Yeah?
Self want to be Krishna or want to be like the Acharya.
Yeah, that's very much a theological, philosophical reason that you're giving, and that we ourselves want to play God. No? We want to enjoy, we want to be the controllers. No? So we don't say, I want to be God, let me volunteer for the post. But we have that attitude, right? And so this attitude is actually attracting a lot of misery into our lives. Why? Because not everyone agrees. If everyone wants to stand in the center of the universe, it will be difficult. So that we can see, nowadays, I'm just speaking now here for the German cultural background, because I grew up in that circumstances, so to say. But at least over the last 20 years, I could observe how much of our German culture declined. Did you also notice that? Some people of you, family values, and how much violence and free sexuality and intoxication and violence is being preached over the television. Did you also notice that? So that is something really significant, because whatever we take into our consciousness leaves impressions there. Can be pious, like in the forms of ritualistic ceremonies like samskaras that are elevating the mind. Or also when we come here, for example, for the Sunday festival, we hear such a nice singing of the Lord's holy names, and we meet nice people, we get nice food in the end, and we have a nice positive impression, isn't it? But the same also works subconsciously if we don't pay attention to what or whom we associate with. We actually also, by association, we can infect the desires of other people. So television is really something I would recommend everyone to avoid as much as possible, and rather take up, for example, one of these books, Bhagavad Gita as it is. I want to say this Bhagavad Gita, one of my Shiksha gurus said, is the survival book, for the material existence. And I like that comparison. Why? Because let's imagine, we try to fly somewhere to the holiday vacation, I don't know, maybe Thailand or something, or Hawaii, or some nice place, maybe India, right, to visit the relatives. Finally, you have 1 month free. And so you want to have a good time. And then suddenly the airplane crashes. It's already a horror scenario, but let's assume everyone survives, and we just stranded somewhere, either on some lonely island or some jungle that is around, and this is like a foreign environment. We need to first of all understand where we can take shelter, what we can eat, where we can, how we can maintain ourselves in that kind of condition. And the second important thing is how we can get out. Wouldn't you agree? So Srimad Bhagavad Gita is basically a dialogue between Lord Krishna. It's actually called the Song of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is also one title of God, and it is something like a love song. So the Lord is speaking this out of compassion for us, forgetful and fallen spiritual souls, fragments of Him who wanted to forget Him, to uplift our consciousness so that we can get some clear picture of where we are, how this material world is conducted with the 3 modes of material nature, how karma, the laws of karma are acting, how we can get out of this karmic cycle and of rebirth. And it's also speaking about different methods, how to go there, so there's something for everyone's taste. If someone is more intellectual, he can practice jnana yoga. What we are practicing here is Bhakti yoga. There's also mention of karma yoga, which means that we offer our activities to the Lord. And so now, why did I choose this verse again? This verse I read, Srila Prabhupada once cited that the Lord in this age appeared as ISKCON. That's something very interesting. I mean, Srila Prabhupada himself appeared as a link to the Guru Parampara, and he is connecting us to the lineage of holy people and rishis, so to say. And we can see by the fruits of the tree, as Jesus would say, we can judge by the results, right? So ISKCON is distributing a lot of prasadam, is distributing the Lord's holy names, is distributing real knowledge, absolute knowledge, and not half-truth, as has been propagated in the mass media, in the schools. And from my own research, in my difficult life phase the last couple of years, if you want, I can read you something really eye-opening from some books that I brought with me. But, this whole conditioning of human beings starts, let's say, with the parents, right? So we take birth in this world, somehow or other. Then the parents, according to their highest standard of insight and education and culture, they pass on to us their values. And also the culture, different rituals and religious laws are there actually to have the society peaceful and prosperous, to help it. It's like a law book, so to say, you could say. The law book is there to keep peace in society, to facilitate cooperation. So it's nothing different with the law book of religion. That is actually the real purpose of religion. But actually also maybe only a byproduct, because here we heard Srila Prabhupada say that the main goal is actually to understand our connection with God, right? So, yeah. And when we understand that we are not this body, the next step could be that we are not the mind. And if we are investigating a little bit further into that, like we make the research, small research before, we can see, you know, maybe where did our expectations come from? Did they come from the school, from the teachers maybe, you know, or from some friends that we mixed with, or from our family members, or did they come from the television, you know? And we can also see at our association, which qualification do they have? No? Are they, for example, meat eaters, taking beer and wine and all these things, which is so much present here nowadays in Germany, unfortunately, and even worse things. Because from these people, if you have teachers like that, what can you learn? You learn theoretical knowledge, but you subconsciously, you get also their impressions, so to say, their desires. They are like a disease, can infect our consciousness. It's very subtle. The laws of karma are also very subtle. So then, sorry, Irina, can you still follow, or should I slow down more? A little more, thank you. Okay. So this system that we currently have here in Germany and also in other parts of the Western world is basically, for example, built on different maxims, like, you know, you need money to be successful, right? So this is some value that has been propagated through Hollywood, through the mass media, and we don't question these things. We just consume this, and when we sit in front of the television, what is happening, the brain waves are almost alike like when you go to some hypnotherapist or something and you do some hypnosis. So unfiltered, we accept this kind of things into our subconscious. And that's not it. It's not that, oh, you know, but I know that. No, actually, so much of our present day behavior is being, is determinant? Yeah, I think determinant, I don't know how to say that. It's one of the factors that determine the outcome of our activities. It starts with our thoughts, with our words. As souls, as particles of God, as fragments, we also do have creative potencies. We have the ability to manifest the reality different. But therefore, there has been a huge propaganda machine that is keeping the people poor. And you can see when you know, I've been looking for some job and thinking to move again and everything. And when you look at the broader picture and you zoom yourself out of your daily life and all these family things going on and whatever is there, and you see the broader spectrum, what is going on in the country, what is going on in maybe in Europe or in the whole world and everything, you can see that by understanding all the contents that were implanted in our subconscious mind, that people are kept in the prison of their mind. Recently I went for a walk in Passau and some sprayer sprayed at the wall, "Children, listen, your mind is in a prison." And I thought, wow, that's a really nice sutra. That's really concise, no? Because unless we question what is there within our consciousness and we evaluate it and we make conscious choices, we are being run by these automatic programs, so to say. So in Bhagavad Gita also we learn how the material world is conducted. Lord Krishna speaks about 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. I won't speak much about them because it will be too much. But if we understand how the world is being manifested, how we each have our choices, which are based upon our knowledge and upon our activities, then we can fully take advantage of this human form of life. Otherwise, if you just spend this lifetime trying to become happy by trying to get money, a house, a car, a nice wife, maybe nice children, a career, all the status symbols, did you see that everyone who tries to pursue this path become happy? Who saw that? I saw that in the television, continuously, in all Hollywood movies, isn't it? There's always some poor loser, is not making it and everything. But why? That's interesting to a question. And who benefits most from this imprints and this contents in our consciousness? That, for example, recently I made a session. I'm teaching one course also about the involvement of consciousness, and I also made one exercise with them. I don't know if you have enough time. I think it's a little short. But I asked, okay, so let's look what kind of belief systems you have inside, and just write it down without evaluating them. And then in the end, I just looked, okay, what are the key words you could say, Poor, I'm like a loser, I don't make it, or something, I need this and that in order to, Does that serve us? Does it make me happy and healthy and a wholesome entity? Does it teach me how to solve conflicts, how to communicate non-violently with others? Does it help me to understand the value of the human form of life? No. But whom does it benefit? You have some intelligent guesses here? Who would like to make a guess? Who benefits from that? Poor and, yeah?
The deep state or the matrix or the government and the inmates.
Okay, so that is already very esoteric. I understand your perspective. Thank you. Keshava?
Those organizations who wants to sell you something.
Exactly, because those are actually behind the government. There's just a couple of people and family clans in the world who actually have 80% of the whole wealth of the whole planet. Can you imagine that? 80%. So then they have the banks, they have the oil industry, they have pharma industry, they have whatever, Microsoft and whatever is going on in these kind of things. And by this, they catch the people with the hook of comfort and safety. Who wants to continue playing that game and lose? No? Who would like to get out of that game? Oh, I don't see your enthusiasm. So you want to stay prisoners? Who wants to get out? Show your hands. Very good. Thank you so very much. So, from what you learned today, how can you get out? You. Tell me something.
Consciousness.
So what do you do for cultivating your consciousness?
Meditating.
Meditating.
It's a very strong method.
That's very good. And why?
Because you get aware of yourself
Yeah.
and the surrounding things, and you can enjoy things more and be more in yourself and be more within the situation.
Okay, that would raise another question, but who is the self? We have so many voices in the head, the mind, then we have the super soul. The soul is also there in the heart. Ne? Engel links, Teufel rechts. Ne? Sometimes it's not so easy to discriminate what voice is going on there, plus some imprints maybe there. So, but yeah, you're right actually, And we do this here especially by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. In one sense, I was thinking when we were just chanting, it seems to be something very easy, but it's actually the greatest secret, And why it is the greatest secret, it is because the people don't understand the value of that. Once I heard a small story, that's just 2 minutes or something, that there was one disciple going to a spiritual master, and he asked him for the most valuable thing in his possession. And the spiritual master, he gave him some touchstone, it's called Chintamani, which when you touch iron to it, it becomes gold. Apparently there's something like that somewhere in the universe, in the spiritual world also. And then he was very happy, But then, when he went back on the way home, he thought, but if this is the most precious that he has, why did he give it to me? So he went back, very smart person, right? And he asked him, but you know, I don't think this is the most valuable because you gave it to me. And then the guru told him, yeah, actually, you're right. And then he said, okay, but what is the more valuable? And then the guru told him, okay, so in order to understand that, you go to the river and throw into this river this stone, you know, get rid of it, you know, dump it in the garbage, so to say, you know. And first of all, he picked it up from the garbage place, from the guru's house also, you know, that was very interesting. So then he had a little difficulty detaching him to himself and really, you know, all his greed and everything, he just threw it in the river and he came back to his guru. And then he told him that the most valuable thing he can give to him is the holy name of the Lord. And we see that in all religious traditions, whether they be Muslim, for example, Christian, and also here in the Vaishnava tradition, and even the Buddhists, they chant Om, the original sound. So this is really, really important, the sound vibration. Anyway, so then, again, he was very happy. He went back to his home, and then, but then he went back and he saw that in the river, some ladies were washing the clothes, and they were singing the holy name, and he was seeing some kids in the street kicking around some fruit, chanting the holy name, and so gradually some doubts came into his mind, and then he asked himself, but if everyone knows that, how it can be the greatest secret, you know, the greatest treasure? So then again he went to his guru, went back one more time, and then he raised this doubt, and the guru, he told him, yeah, but you know, the people may know it like externally, you know, like we may chant the holy name with our tongue and, you know, maybe a little bit with our inspiration, but what is our attitude? You know, that makes a huge difference. So when we chant with the attitude of actually serving God, like Srila Prabhupada, he said that this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is like an instant prayer, so to say, oh Lord, please engage me in your loving devotional service. This again is like a code form, like a sutra, because unless we are engaged in the Lord's service, in God's service, with some capacity and faculties and abilities and whatever we have, whom are we serving? We are serving the body, the mind, like she said, the deep state, or, you know, we are serving so many people, the companies, the governments, but we are not becoming happy by that, right? So therefore, that Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the most secret of all secrets, you know, and this wisdom here, Lord Krishna is giving one nice verse. I was first thinking maybe I should speak about that one as one of my favorites. In the 9th chapter, the most confidential knowledge, where Lord Krishna says, this knowledge, that means this knowledge of the science of the soul, of Bhakti Yoga, this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all the secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives one the direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. And now coming back to Keshava's original, very nice answer, if we have selfish desires, that can be a big burden on our spiritual path, because then we get entangled in this external world. Ne? Okay, we may have to raise the family and everything, and have to somehow function in this world, but if we do it with the perspective of enjoying the fruits, then at the same time it's like the coin, you have another side also, then we invite suffering into our lives. And we can see that by decreasing qualities like tolerance and humility. Nowadays, the ego is being inflated. People are so intolerant, even if the train is late for 5 minutes, they almost get a heart attack. You know, it's really amazing. So, and we can see the direct connection between the two of that. And therefore, I wanted to speak about this particular verse that shows how this knowledge, when we really want to practice that, it is the survival book, basically, of the soul, how to get out of this material, alien and foreign condition, like a different element, like the fish out of water. He can never be happy. We can never become happy by, you know, feeding our belly, how much it can taste anyhow, you know. or by, I don't know, satisfying other sense organs, or developing so much knowledge, we will never come to an end of speculative knowledge. We can only gain satisfaction when we follow this process with the intention. That is something really important for our consciousness. What is our intention? And if we have a pure intention to please and serve the Lord and His devotees, that will gradually elevate us from the platform of ignorance and the meshes of karma and samskara and everything, and will gradually, like you said, with meditation, elevate our consciousness. And that means we may have challenging circumstances, but in the circumstances the consciousness becomes developed enough to make a choice, especially by developing spiritual intelligence and by rendering practical devotional service. And now I want to finish the class and see if there's some questions or comments or doubts maybe, or maybe I offended someone. Please raise your hand if you want to say something. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhupada said in Beyond Birth and Death, the first step in spiritual life is to know that we are not this body. But like you said, there are a lot of circumstances who say we are the body and we have to consume with so much things that make this very quickly for us.
Mm-hmm.
My question is how to understand that we are not the body.
How to question. You just do it. Like the taste of the pudding, they say, is in the taste, right? So you try the pudding and then you can make the experience. Because this knowledge is not theoretical knowledge, it is experiential knowledge. You need to experience it. In Sanskrit there's two terms, jnana and vijnana. Jnana means theoretical knowledge, also about the soul, for example. You can also develop that knowledge. And vijnana means realization. Like I read in this 9th chapter, in this second verse, this knowledge can be realized. We can realize the soul. But it costs that we do it. There's no shortcut. And what is helpful, like to create favorable circumstances, that could be maybe also a little bit more in your question, to understand how our association influences us, and we can take shelter of the devotees' association. Therefore we have this beautiful temple here. This Devangri Srila Prabhupada, he wrote so many books. Sri Shigonitai give their darshan and so many facilities to serve. And shortly after this class is over, Keshava Prabhu will speak about another beautiful opportunity to engage oneself in devotional service in various ways by serving the Lord of the universe. And so did that answer your question? Another question to you would be, okay, if theoretically I can accept that I am not the body, how can I understand that I am not the mind? Because the mind thinks, feels and wills, and we identify with that often, right? We think that who's thinking is me, who is feeling is me, who's willing is me, isn't it? So how to solve that problem? It starts by becoming conscious about that, by raising our awareness, like this Prabhu said, with meditation, with developing spiritual knowledge, with getting a different perspective to what we have been taught, and with questioning things. Be skeptical, use your intelligence. It has been given to us by the Lord to learn to discriminate and to develop this common sense. I heard something very nice recently, that we go to school and we learn how to read, how to write, how to do mathematics, but we do not get taught how to think. And I can observe that, I don't know if you can observe that sometimes, you see people who are in an adult body, but they are on the level of children, still. So here, with this beautiful knowledge of this ancient Vedic literature, we can learn how the mind is working, what other influences are there on our body, how we can get out of that. I really want to encourage each one of you, if you still need the Bhagavad Gita as it is, please ask Keshava Prabhu, and there's some other Prabhus like Moritz or Lilamrita Mataji, who are very enthusiastic about giving those books to you. And so who had one more question? Maybe from the Mataji side? Is there some question? Or everything is completely clear, you're ready to surrender wholeheartedly. We're here to find out the doubts and to clear them. May I ask you here in front? You look also very new, I don't know you. How did you, can you give me feedback? What stick with you? What would you like to integrate into your daily life now after this class? Yeah, you. You don't need to look back, I mean you.
Not that new, but yeah, the whole talk, it's familiar. I've already heard it because they are also saying that like science is always like saying the same now. Also ich sage das mal auf Deutsch. Also dass man ja derzeit auch sagt, dass die Wissenschaft auch das immer wieder bestätigt jetzt, was eben in alten Schriften schon steht, dass wir eine Materie erschaffen können durch Bewusstsein und so weiter. Von daher aber war sehr schön und sehr interessant auch die persönliche Geschichte.
Dankeschön, ich weiß nicht, ob die so schön war, aber...
Nein, aber ich kann I can relate to it.
And what would you say did you learn from this? What would you like to change in your daily behavior? Because we want to be pragmatic, right? Did you get some inspiration maybe or some insight?
Ja, mehr offener zu sein und auf andere auch zuzugehen.
Yeah, ne? That's really so important to be open-minded, isn't it? She said also that nowadays so many scientists, they already confirm the wisdom of the ancient literatures, ne? The scriptures. That is because this knowledge is absolute. The Vedas are absolute. They are not man-made. And scientists, they just can use their senses and their mind, empiricism and rationalism, to try to figure out the truth. But according to the Vedas, there's 3 ways of understanding. And these 2, from the scientists, they can just serve to understand this world. But since we are not the body, we are the soul inside, who is explaining to us, about this? And therefore we need the Guru Parampara, we need the spiritual line. Okay, so thank you so very much for your patience. Now it became a little bit late again. I beg your pardon. And now Keshava Prabhu is going to share some wonderful service opportunities for after the Gaura Arati. Okay. So, Srila Prabhupada, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Priya Mataji ki jai. Vielen Dank fürs Zuhören.
Vielen Dank auch. Ich hoffe, das war okay. Von Höckchen auf.
Das war ein bisschen schwer für Irina, so schnell.
Das ist immer